So far, in the war of 1947 between India and Pakistan, we covered the invasion from 2 out of the 3 fronts. The first front was the Srinagar front, where the invaders invaded Kashmir along the Srinagar highway and were on the verge of capturing Srinagar when the Indian troops were flown in from New Delhi to save it. The invaders were subsequently pushed back from the outskirts of Srinagar, then from Baramulla and Uri. Please watch part 2 and part 3 for details on that front. The second front was the Jammu front, where the Indian troops were quickly able to recapture Naushera but faced a lot of challenges capturing Changad and Rajouri. Poonch remained under siege for 1 year and the troops had to be supplied by air for the whole year. The Poonch siege was successfully broken by the Indian armed forces, but Mirpur and Kotli could not be taken back before ceasefire was declared. Please watch part 4, A, B and C for details on the war on that front. The third front of the war was the Gilgit front, where the plan of the invaders was to attack from the northern side and capture the towns of Gilgit, Skardu, Kargil and subsequently Leh. If successful, the invaders would then surround the Indian defences from 3 sides. While invasions were launched along Srinagar and Jammu parallelly, where invaders came in from Pakistan, the capture of Gilgit had a different story to it. The British played a role in supporting the Pakistani side in taking this town. The British saw the Indian establishment as ideologically more aligned with the Soviet bloc in the post-World War II era and wanted to ensure that there was a buffer zone between India and the countries under Soviet zone of influence. When invasions began along the Jammu and Srinagar front, the Indian side had appointed Brigadier Ghansar Singh as the governor of Gilgit and sent him to Gilgit to take control of any emerging situations on that side. The governor reached Gilgit and started building defences for the town to stop enemy attacks from that front. But there were problems brewing within the rank of his troops as they were planning to do a coup and take Gilgit by force. The planners of the coup were soldiers from the Gilgit Scouts and were led by 2 British officers, Major Brown and Captain Matheson. At midnight of October 31st, 1947, the conspirators massacred the pro-India troops and surrounded the governor's residence. There were some guards within the residence who fought back, but the governor had to surrender the next morning, November 1st, 1947. Gilgit was taken on that day. The Indian side knew that the next town threatened by the invaders was to be Skardu. While the enemy was raising troops from the local population as well as waiting for reinforcements from Pakistan, the Indian side was trying to make its troops available for the defense of Skardu. With little to no troops available in that town, in either Skardu or Kargil, the Indian side sent troops positioned at Leh to defend the town. On November 22, 1947, 2 officers, 2 JCOs and 75 troops left Leh with the objective of defending Skardu from the invaders. This force was commanded by Lt Gen Col Sher Jung Thapa. The troops reached Skardu on December 3, 1947, before the enemy could launch any attacks on that town. They started reconnaissance activities in the area to understand the lay of the land. They also started building defences in and around the town so the troops could be well dug in when eventually the invasion happens. 75 troops were not enough to defend the scale of invasion expected to come in the near future, So Colonel Thapa requested more troops from the Kashmir Central Command located at Srinagar. While they were waiting for the troops to come in, pickets were set up at various locations within the town. 2 outposts were set up at Sari with troops on the left flank and the right flank on the route from Gilgit to Skardu. The base of Skardu operations was set up at Skardu Fort. First reinforcements from Srinagar to Skardu were sent from Srinagar on January 15, 1948. They reached Skardu on February 10th. The total strength of Indian troops at Skardu now was 161. While the first reinforcements troops had just reached Skardu, the 2 small outposts of Skardu at Sari were attacked by the enemy 600 strong. The left flank was attacked first. They fought bravely but were annihilated by the enemy owing to their greater strength in numbers. Seeing the result on the other side, the flank on the right surrendered to the enemy without a fight. Next day, on February 11th, the enemy attacked the Skardu town with the same ferocity. The attack was repelled by the dug-in defense forces. The second reinforcements party from Srinagar, consisting of 70 men, reached Skardu on February 13, 1948. The strength of Indian troops defending Skardu now was at 285 men, along with 250 refugees under their protection. With enough troops available now, Colonel Thapa could send his troops to set up defensive positions in the area surrounding Skardu. One of the most important features to capture here was point number 8853. This was the highest point around the town that was overlooking all key features within the town, including the Skardu fort, where the base of the operations of Colonel Thapa's men was set up. The enemy was also aware of the importance of this feature and were able to capture it before Colonel Thapa's team could get there. This would prove to be a major setback for the Indian troops in the defense of their town, because with the capture of this feature, the enemy now could do shelling at various defensive positions, and they could also use snipers to target Indian troops within the Skardu fort. The fighting to defend Skardu continued. The enemy made 4 more attempts, each one stronger than the previous, at capturing Skardu. These were on February 24th, March 4th, March 6th, and March 14th of 1948. The Indian side's strong defense successfully repelled all these enemy attacks. During these attacks, the Indian side was limited to defending the town and could not stop the enemy from moving past them to the south of Skardu. Colonel Thapa's men were surrounded by enemy from all sides now. The Indian side, meanwhile, had dispatched 1 more company of troops from Srinagar over to Skardu, called the Biscuit Column. The objective of the Biscuit Column was to reinforce Skardu, to support the defense of the town, and thereafter plan out offensive operations to repel the enemy away from Skardu. The Biscuit Column under Brigadier Fakir Singh were on track to reach Skardu by March 18, 1948. But the enemy, through their network of informers on the way, were aware of their arrival. They planned to intercept the Biscuit Column 32 kilometers south of Skardu and sent their men to lay an ambush on March 15, 1948. While the Biscuit Column was marching towards Skardu, they walked into the ambush. This was on March 17, 1948. They were brutally attacked by the enemy from all sides and lost 27 men with 18 wounded and 7 missing. With such heavy losses to the Biscuit Column, they had to retreat from their positions back to safety in Srinagar. The crucial objective of Biscuit Column to reinforce Colonel Thapa's troops at Skardu was unsuccessful.